400 years in the future, Earth was no longer alone in the universe. After decades of exploration, humanity had joined the intergalactic Concord, a peaceful alliance of over 200 alien civilizations. Together they shared knowledge, technology, and space travel. But peace in the galaxy was always fragile, like glass under pressure. One day, everything changed. A strange signal echoed through the stars. It came from a region of space that everyone feared, a place called the Hollow Verge. No ship ever returned from there. The stars near it were cold and dead, as if something had swallowed their light. The signal was short, but it was terrifying. It wasn't just noise. It felt alive. Within hours, the Galactic Council called for an emergency meeting. Alien leaders from across the galaxy gathered in the Council Dome, a floating structure orbiting the twin suns of the Siren System. They arrived in haste, their faces filled with fear. The signal played again in the Council Hall. Every species heard it differently. Some heard screams, others a whisper, and a few simply froze. The oldest races recognized it from ancient warnings carved into stone long before Earth's first cities. They all said the same thing. The Warden of Silence has stirred. Panic broke out. The insectoid leaders of the Kothari Empire collapsed, in fear. The scaled queens of the Serani clans covered their heads and wept. Even the powerful Threxian warlords, known for their battle-hardened strength, stepped back in terror. Only one group in the room remained calm. The Terran delegation sat quietly at the edge of the hall. They didn't panic. They didn't even flinch. Their leader, a tall woman with silver hair and calm eyes, stood and spoke. Her name was Captain Elena Ward, a former commander in Earth's defense forces. She looked around the room, then said, "Why is everyone afraid?" The Varnock elder hissed in reply. "You do not understand, human. The Warden was created before time. It feeds on fear. It silences systems. It leaves only darkness." Another alien, the frog-like Chancellor Milo, added, "We cannot go near it. To investigate that signal is to invite death." Elena remained silent for a moment. Then she calmly replied, "Then humanity will go." The room went silent. "You what?" one of the Threxians growled. Elena walked to the center of the chamber and looked around. "On Earth, we've faced extinction more than once. Climate collapse, global war, AI uprisings. We survived every time. We don't run from the unknown. We face it." "But this is different," cried the Serani queen. "This is not your kind of war. This is a terror that breaks minds." Elena nodded slowly. "Then we'll take a ship, go to the source, and find out what's really going on. If it's dangerous, we'll deal with it. If it's not, we can end this fear." There was silence in the chamber again. The other species looked at each other with disbelief. Some whispered, others shook their heads. One thing was clear: no one else was willing to go. Finally, the council speaker spoke. "If the humans wish to investigate, we will not stop them. But be warned, no one returns from the Hollow Verge." Elena smiled faintly. "We'll return." 2 days later, at Terran Orbital Command, preparations were complete. A sleek black vessel, the TSV Aegis, stood ready. It was a special stealth cruiser designed for deep space missions. It carried the most advanced human technology, including psychological shielding, emergency AI support, and an elite exploration crew. Captain Elena Ward stood on the bridge, checking final reports. Her crew was a mix of trained astronauts, scientists, and even a few brave alien volunteers who trusted the humans more than their own kind. "Course plotted to the Hollow Verge," said Dr. Marcus Hale, the lead scientist on board. Elena nodded. "Then let's make history." As the Aegis left Earth's orbit, a quiet tension filled the ship. The stars ahead seemed darker than usual. The hollow verge was millions of kilometers away, but even now they could feel the unease in the air. In the mess hall, alien volunteer Katava, a Sarani navigator, whispered to a human engineer, "Do you not feel it? The cold in your bones?" The engineer, a young woman named Riley Chen, smiled and handed her a hot drink. "Yeah, I feel it. But fear isn't the boss of me." Katava looked confused. "What does that mean?" "It means fear is natural. We just don't let it decide what we do." Days passed. The stars around them began to thin. Space became darker. Strange energy readings filled the ship's sensors. Signals came and went, whispering static that made no sense. Dr. Hale studied them, but they seemed too perfect. "To be natural, we're getting close," he said. Finally, the Aegis crossed the border of the hollow verge. Everyone held their breath. Outside the windows, the stars were gone. No light, no reflection, just empty blackness. The crew checked the engines, the shields, the power core. Everything was working, but space itself felt dead. Suddenly, a new signal hit the ship. Loud, deep. It wasn't noise this time. It was a voice. "I see you." It wasn't angry. It wasn't kind. It was simply there, inside every crew member's mind. A few of the aliens began to shake. One even fainted. But the humans didn't panic. They ran tests, studied the waveforms, and kept moving forward. "This thing," Elena said slowly, "wants us to be afraid. That's how it works." "Should we turn back?" Dr. Hale asked. Elena looked ahead, her eyes hard. "No, we keep going." Back in the council hall, news had already spread. The humans had entered the hollow verge. Many leaders expected they'd vanish within hours. But as reports came in, clear, steady transmissions from the Aegis, a strange new feeling began to rise across the galaxy. Not fear, but curiosity, and maybe a little hope. Because for the first time in history, someone wasn't afraid. And that someone was human. The TSV Aegis moved deeper into the hollow verge. Outside the ship, space remained silent and dark, like a void without stars. Nothing moved. No planets, no ships, no light. It felt like the universe had stopped breathing. Inside the ship, the crew worked quietly. The calm voices of humans gave strength to those who were afraid. Even the alien volunteers, who had once doubted the mission, began to follow human orders without question. There was something different about these humans. They didn't hide from fear. They understood it, and that made them strong. Captain Elena Ward stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the front display. Her face was calm, but her mind was sharp. She knew this mission wasn't just about bravery. It was about survival. And it was about truth. Something in the hollow verge had sent a signal. Something intelligent. Now they had to find it. "Status. Report," Elena said. "Engines stable. Gravity field holding," replied Chief Pilot Jordan Ellis, his hands steady on the controls. "But the navigation system keeps resetting. It doesn't know where we are." "That's because this place doesn't follow normal space rules," said Dr. Marcus Hale, standing at the science station. "Look at this. Gravitational waves are looping. Time signals are delayed. Space here, it's twisted. We're not just flying forward," Elena murmured. "We're flying into something's mind." Suddenly the lights dimmed. Then came a voice, low, whispering, "You are not welcome." Everyone froze. Elena didn't blink. "We come in peace." There was no answer. Hours passed. Strange things began to happen. A crew member named Liam Grayson, a communications officer, reported hearing voices that no one else heard. He said they were calling his name, asking for help. Another crew member, Katava, the Sarani navigator, began seeing shadows move on the walls. "Hallucinations," Dr. Hale said. "But caused by what? Fear gas? Mind signals? Or something alive?" The ship's AI, Cora, added, "No foreign elements in the air, no damage to internal systems. All signs point to psychic influence." Psychic. The word made the room go quiet. Elena made a decision. "We split into teams, search the nearby region, map everything, look for clues. No one goes alone." The crew nodded and moved quickly. Team 1 found an ancient debris field, shattered pieces of metal floating. In silence, it looked like an old alien ship, maybe thousands of years old. There were symbols on the hull, written in a forgotten language. Elena touched one of the pieces with her gloved hand. Dr. Hale scanned it. "This ship is older than the Council itself. Whoever made it tried to escape and failed." Team 2 found something stranger. A floating object, like a stone sphere, humming softly. As they approached, it flashed with light. For a moment, every team member saw something different. One saw a burning Earth. Another saw a lost family member. A third saw their own death. They pulled back in shock. Back on the Aegis, Elena listened carefully. "This place uses fear like a weapon. It shows you your worst memory, your deepest pain." "But why?" asked Jordan. "Why try to scare us?" Dr. Hale answered. "Because something here feeds on it." That night, fear tried to enter the ship. The walls seemed to breathe. The lights flickered in rhythm with heartbeats. In the sleeping quarters, people had nightmares, not dreams but memories twisted into horror. One crew member, Eloise Tanaka, woke up screaming. She said she saw her childhood home burning, just like it did in real life. But in the dream, something stood in the fire, watching her. Elena called a meeting. "I know it's hard," she said, "but fear can't control you if you face it. Look around. You're still alive. You're still thinking clearly. That means you're stronger than this." The crew listened and believed, because every time fear came, the humans didn't break. They got stronger. The next morning, sensors picked up something huge, a structure, floating in the blackness. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't a ship. It was a station, shaped like an enormous open eye with metal roots stretching across space. The crew stared at it in silence. "It's alive," Katava whispered. "No," Dr. Hale said. "Not alive, but it's watching." As the Aegis approached, the eye slowly opened. A faint blue glow appeared in its center. A voice came again, this time louder. "You are not ready. You bring war. You bring fear. Leave now, or be broken." Elena stood tall. "We didn't come to bring fear. We came to stop it." There was silence. Then, the station opened a docking port. The Aegis connected with the strange station. A small team, led by Elena, entered the airlock. They wore full suits, with advanced sensors and light weapons. Inside, the station was cold and quiet. The walls pulsed softly, like veins in a body. Symbols glowed along the floor, and the air smelled like ozone. Dr. Hale scanned the area. "This station is millions of years old. It's powered by something beyond anything we've seen." As they walked deeper, they found strange machines, frozen in place. Some looked like weapons, others like mind-linked chairs. All were dead now except for one thing, a large crystal in the center of the room. The crystal hummed. Suddenly, a figure appeared, not real but made of light. It looked like a tall alien with no face and long arms. "I am the Warden of Silence," it said. "Created to protect the stars. Created to end the war." Elena stepped forward. "Then why do you make others afraid?" "Because fear brings peace. Fear stops conflict. Fear silences all." Elena frowned. "That's not peace. That's control." The warden didn't answer. Instead, it stared at her with glowing eyes. "You are different," it said slowly. "You resist. Why?" Because humans are not ruled by fear, Elena replied. We learn from it. We move through it. Again, silence. Then the warden said, Then show me. Suddenly, a bright light flashed. The team was pulled into a simulation, a memory chamber. Each person stood alone in a dream version of their worst moment. For Elena, it was the battlefield of Earth's last world war. Her team dying around her. The smell of fire and ash. The feeling of helplessness. But instead of running, she stood her ground. She remembered how she had led the survivors out, how she had rebuilt their strength. She took a deep breath and whispered, I am not afraid. The illusion broke. One by one, the crew resisted their fears. They faced them. And they passed. The warden appeared again, but now it looked confused. You are not like the others. You bring fear and overcome it. That's what makes us human, Elena said. We don't silence fear. We rise above it. Back on. The Aegis, the ship's readings returned to normal. Lights became steady. Space outside began to show stars again. The hollow verge was changing. The warden didn't attack. It simply said, Go, and carry your fire to the stars. As the crew returned to the ship, Elena stood at the airlock and looked back. Mark the station, she said. We'll come back not with weapons, but with understanding. And with that, the TSV Aegis turned and flew back toward known space, the only ship in history to enter the hollow verge and return. The TSV Aegis floated silently near the ancient station inside the hollow verge. The space around them had started to shift, slowly but clearly. Stars now blinked in the distance. The darkness that once covered everything was beginning to thin. But the crew was not celebrating yet. Inside the ship, every person was thinking about the voice they heard, the illusions they saw, and the strange force that had spoken to them. The Warden of Silence. It was not a creature. It was not a machine. It was something in between, created long ago by a civilization older than any record in the Galactic Council, and now it was awake. Captain Elena Ward stood in the command center of the Aegis, staring at the central screen. The ancient station, shaped like an open eye, was still glowing. A low humming sound came through the speakers, soft but deep enough to make the walls vibrate. Elena, said Dr. Marcus Hale, entering the room. I finished scanning the memory patterns from the simulation chamber. And? She asked. He sat down beside her. They weren't just illusions. The Warden used real memories from our minds. It didn't just show us fear. It studied how we handled it. So it was testing us? Yes. And now it knows we're different. In the medical bay, Eloise Tanaka was recovering from her encounter with the Warden's illusions. She had seen her childhood home burning, but she no longer felt afraid. She had talked to a counselor, written her thoughts down, and now she felt stronger. Near her, Ketava, the Serani alien, watched quietly. You humans, Ketava said slowly, you walk through pain like it's normal. Eloise smiled weakly. It is normal. Pain teaches us. It makes us think. And when we survive, we become better. Ketava nodded, still unsure. Her people usually avoided emotions like fear or sadness. But now, seeing the humans, she was beginning to understand that fear didn't always mean weakness. Back in the engineering bay, alarms suddenly beeped. Unknown energy spike, called out Riley Chen, the young human engineer. Coming from the station. It's powering up. Elena rushed to the control deck. Raise shields. Charge the engines. A loud voice echoed inside the ship, directly into their minds. You are brave, but still dangerous. Warden, Elena said aloud, we're not here to harm you. All life harms, the voice replied. Fear is the only peace. Without warning, the station's outer shell began to move. Giant panels unfolded, revealing what looked like weapons, long crystal arms filled with light, charged with energy. "It's activating defense systems," shouted Jordan Ellis. "Is it going to attack?" asked Ketava. "No," Elena said, narrowing her eyes. "It's going to test us. Again." The Aegis shook as a pulse wave hit the ship. Not a weapon, but a force that tried to affect their minds. Alien crew members dropped to their knees. Some screamed, others fainted. They saw visions of war, of planets burning, of family members lost, but the humans stood tall. Elena walked slowly across the shaking floor, speaking to her crew. "This isn't real. This is fear trying to take control. Stay grounded, stay human." Her voice gave strength. Slowly, the others began to rise. Dr. Hale activated the ship's neural shield, sending calm signals across the Aegis. The fear waves weakened. On the bridge, the voice returned. "You resist. You adapt. You evolve." "Yes," Elena replied. "Because we don't run from fear. We learn from it." Suddenly, the warden appeared again, this time as a light-formed figure inside the ship's hologram room. It had no clear face, just glowing lines and a deep voice. "I was made by those who wanted peace. They believed fear would stop war. They gave me power to silence empires. I turned stars to dust. I broke fleets with terror." "Then they made a mistake," said Elena. The warden tilted its head. "They made me perfect." "No," she replied. "You became a prison. You stopped war, but you also stopped life." The warden was silent for a moment. Then it said something surprising. "Teach me." Elena and Dr. Hale stepped into the hologram room. They stood just meters from the warden's light form. "You've seen how we fight fear," Elena said. "Now let us show you how we grow from it." Dr. Hale pulled up human history files. Images appeared. Earthquakes, fires, war zones, diseases. But with each image came another. People rebuilding, helping, creating, surviving. "Fear is real," Hale said. "But it's not the end. It's the beginning of strength." The warden's form flickered as if confused. "You do not silence fear," it said. "You carry it?" "Yes," Elena said. "And because of that, we're stronger than we've ever been." Outside, the energy weapons on the ancient station began to power down. The glowing eye slowly closed. The darkness of the hollow verge grew lighter. Then something new happened. The station opened. A massive library chamber appeared, filled with data crystals, old tech, and history logs from the civilization that built the warden. It was a treasure of knowledge lost to time. "We've gained its trust," Dr. Hale said softly. "This could change everything." Elena smiled. "Let's study it, carefully." Later that night, the crew gathered in the common room. Hot drinks were shared. Music played softly. Laughter returned to the ship. Ketava sat beside Eloise, watching the humans. "I never thought I'd laugh after coming here," she said. Eloise nodded. "That's the thing about humans. We laugh even after we cry." "What will happen now?" "We learn, we grow, and we help others do the same." Elena stood alone on the observation deck, looking at the stars. The hollow verge wasn't hollow anymore. It was full of mystery, truth, and the beginning of something new. Behind her, Dr. Hale walked in. The warden asked one more question, he said. "What was it?" He smiled. "Can I change?" Elena looked out the window. "Yes," she said softly. "Everyone can, even fear." The ancient station inside the hollow verge was no longer silent. Its halls, once dark and cold, now glowed softly with blue light. The Warden of Silence, once feared across the galaxy, had changed. It no longer saw fear as the answer. It had started to learn from the humans, but peace is never easy. Deep within the core of the station, something unexpected began to stir. An old security protocol that even the warden didn't control. It had been buried for millions of years, locked away when the warden was first created. Now, it was waking up, and it was not friendly. On board the TSV Aegis, Captain Elena Ward was reviewing files from the warden's library. The crew had discovered data about the first civilization, a race so advanced they built machines that could control fear itself. But their great empire had ended with silence. They were afraid of their own creations, said Dr. Marcus Hale, reading a report beside Elena. They built the warden to stop war, but also created something far worse. What worse? Elena asked, frowning. Hale pointed at a symbol in the records. It looked like a burning star with claws. They called it the Void Protocol, a system designed to destroy any threat the warden couldn't control. Before Elena could reply, the ship's alarm suddenly blared. "Emergency energy spike detected!" shouted Jordan Ellis from the control station. "Source?" Elena asked quickly. "The station's core. Something's activating. Something big!" The ship shook violently as a wave of red energy blasted from the station. All lights flickered. The crew struggled to stay on their feet. Elena ran to the bridge. "Talk to the warden! Now!" The station's voice echoed through the ship, strained and broken. "I did not call it. It is the old fire. The one meant to burn everything." "What does that mean?" cried Katava, her eyes wide. The warden's voice faded. "Run or be erased." Elena made a decision. "No, we don't run." "But Captain," Dr. Hale warned, "if this void protocol is real, it could destroy us. It was made to erase all life." "I know," she replied. "That's why we have to stop. It, not for us, for everyone." Inside the station, panels began to shift. From beneath the floors, metallic creatures rose, like machines made of black smoke and glass. They had no faces, no voices, only red glowing eyes. "Defense bots?" asked Riley Chen, gripping a plasma cutter. "No," said Hale. "These are part of the protocol. They're not protecting the station. They're here to wipe out anything that shows emotion, especially fear." Elena nodded. "Then we'll show them courage." She formed 3 teams. Team Alpha, led by Elena, would go to the core to shut down the Void Protocol. Team Bravo, led by Jordan, would protect the Aegis and prepare escape routes if needed. Team Charlie, led by Dr. Hale, would assist the Warden's system and try to reprogram the station's defense. "We're not just fighting machines," Elena reminded everyone. "We're fighting an idea, that fear should rule. Show it that courage is stronger." Team Alpha moved fast through the burning halls of the station. Sparks flew from the walls. Shadows ran beside them. The black machines chased them, silent, but deadly. Elena led from the front, blasting one of the attackers with her rifle. Sparks flew. The machine fell, but 2 more came. "We need to move faster," shouted Eloise, firing beside her. They reached the core chamber, a massive room with a red crystal floating at the center. It pulsed like a heartbeat. "The Void Protocol is alive," whispered Ketava. "I can feel it." The crystal spoke, in a deep, cruel voice. "Emotion is chaos. Fear is failure. All must be burned." Elena stepped forward. "No," she said. "Fear is part of being alive, and so is fire. But fire doesn't just destroy. It also lights the way." Meanwhile, Team Charlie reached the warden's command room. The warden appeared, its glowing light flickering with pain. "I cannot stop it." My purpose was changed. Dr. Hale ran to the control panels. "We can help. But we need your help too." The warden looked at him. For a moment, it was silent. Then it replied, "I will give you my voice." Suddenly, the data flowed faster. New pathways opened. Hale and his team began reprogramming the core. Back in the chamber, Elena moved closer to the void crystal. Its energy grew louder, sharper. "You fear nothing. That is weakness," it said. Elena smiled. "I do fear. I just don't let it stop me." With a signal to her team, she launched a pulse grenade at the crystal. It exploded with light. The machine screamed and vanished, but the crystal still floated. It began to pull everything into itself. Walls, debris, even parts of the station. "We need to shut it down!" Eloise shouted. "I have an idea," Elena said, pulling a small device from her belt. It was a memory core, filled with human stories, emotions, music, and pictures. She had collected it years ago for a museum project. She ran forward and slammed the memory core into the crystal. The reaction was instant. The red light dimmed. The air filled with sound, laughter, music, the sound of children playing, ocean waves. The protocol didn't understand. Emotion was not a threat. It was life. The crystal flickered, then shattered. Across the station, machines collapsed. The halls fell silent. Lights turned blue again. Team Bravo reported the Aegis was safe. No more threats. Team Charlie finished linking the Warden back to the main system, and in the middle of it all, Elena stood breathing hard as dust and light floated around her. She had won, not with weapons, but with courage and memory. Later, back on the ship, the Warden appeared again. It looked stronger now, calmer. "You have shown me a new way. I no longer fear fear." Elena nodded. "You were made to protect. Now you can protect in a better way." The Warden asked, "What will you do now?" "We'll return home," Elena said. "Tell the galaxy what happened. That the Hollow Verge is no longer a place of silence, but of learning." News of the human mission spread across the stars. Species that once hid in fear now looked to Earth with respect. They saw that humans didn't destroy the Warden. They taught it. And because of that, a new hope began to rise in the galaxy. The Warden would become a guide, a guardian, not of fear, but of knowledge, and the Hollow Verge would be renamed the Terran Threshold, the place where courage met silence and turned it into light. 3 weeks had passed since the humans entered the Hollow Verge. The galaxy was still in shock. The place that had once been a source of endless fear had changed. Ships that once turned back at its border now approached with curiosity. The terrifying signal that once echoed through the stars was gone. In its place, a new message was being sent, clear, calm, and full of hope. The Warden has awakened. It no longer brings fear. The Hollow Verge is safe, and the galaxy knew who to thank: humans. On board the TSV Aegis, Captain Elena Ward stood on the observation deck, watching the glowing structure of the ancient station. It no longer looked like a giant eye watching with cold judgment. Now it shimmered with soft blue light, like a star being born. A calm voice echoed through the ship's speakers. It was the Warden. "I have sent the message to the Galactic Council. I told them what you did, how you helped me understand fear and freedom." Elena smiled faintly. "And what did they say?" "They are confused, but also curious. Some are scared, others are hopeful." "Good," she replied. "That means they're listening." In the command center, Dr. Marcus Hale was uploading data from the Warden's library into secured Terran storage. Thousands of ancient files about physics, engineering, culture, and languages were now in human hands. "We'll be studying this for the next 100 years, Hale said, shaking his head in disbelief. "It's like finding a galaxy-sized museum." "Careful," Riley Chen joked nearby. "Knowing you, you'll try to read it all in one night." Hale laughed. "I might." The rest of the crew was also busy, organizing repairs, resting from battle, or writing personal logs. They had faced fear and survived. Many of them had changed. Some were stronger, some were quieter, but all of them understood something now. Fear was not the enemy. Giving up was. In the medical bay, Ketava sat beside Eloise Tanaka, both sipping warm drinks. "My people," Ketava said softly, "have always taught us to avoid fear. We believe it weakens the spirit." Eloise nodded. "Ours used to think the same, but we learned the truth the hard way. Fear isn't the end, it's the beginning of something." "Like what?" "Like courage." Ketava smiled gently. "I want to visit Earth one day, to learn more about your ways." "You'll love it," Eloise said. "We have blue oceans, forests, food from 100 cultures, and stories. So, many stories." A few days later, the Aegis began its journey back to known space. Before they left, the warden sent a message directly to Elena. "Will I see you again?" She answered, "We'll return. You're not alone anymore." The warden paused. Then it said something unexpected. "I wish to learn how to protect, without fear. Will you teach me?" Elena looked at the stars. "We all will." As the ship exited the hollow verge, a large fleet was waiting. Not with weapons, but with cameras, scientists, and leaders from across the galaxy. The Galactic Council had sent ships from every major species. They all wanted the same thing: answers. As the Aegis docked with the nearest council vessel, reporters and officials crowded the station. Bright lights flashed. News feeds streamed the moment live to billions. But the room fell quiet when Elena entered. She didn't wear medals. She didn't carry a weapon. She walked in wearing her black Terran uniform, calm and proud. The council speaker, a tall being from the Orcs species, stepped forward. "Captain Elena Ward," he said formally, "your ship entered a place where no other has returned. You faced what all others feared. And yet, here you stand. Tell us. How?" Elena stepped onto the central platform and looked around the room. She saw the eyes of hundreds of species. Some were round, others glowing. Some had no eyes at all, but all were watching, waiting. She began to speak in a clear voice. "Fear is natural," she said. "Every species feels it. On Earth, we've feared many things: disaster, war, sickness, even each other. We still do, but we don't let fear control us." She paused. "We study it. We challenge it. We learn from it." Some of the council members whispered among themselves. Others listened in silence. The warden was not evil. It was afraid, too. It believed fear could stop violence. But fear without understanding becomes a cage. It silences everything, including hope. She looked around again. "We humans come from a world that almost destroyed itself many times. But we survived. Because we kept walking, even when afraid. That's what we did inside the hollow verge. That's what we'll keep doing." The council speaker slowly stepped forward. "And the warden? Is it a threat?" Elena shook her head. "No, not anymore. It's learning, just like we are." Later, that evening back on the Aegis, Elena stood in her quarters writing her personal report. She paused and looked at an old photograph pinned near her desk. Her parents, smiling beside a small campfire on Earth. She remembered something her father once told her as a child. "Courage doesn't mean you don't feel fear. It means you act anyway." Now she truly understood. And so did the galaxy. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed. The hollow verge, once a dead zone, became a place of science and diplomacy. The warden, now peaceful, shared forgotten knowledge with every species willing to listen, and at the center of this change was Earth. Humans were invited to lead new programs: fear resilience training, emotional intelligence for commanders, peace through courage, human philosophy. Species that once laughed at humans now looked at them with respect. They weren't the strongest. They weren't the fastest. But they were the ones who walked through the fire. The story of Elena Ward and the Aegis crew was told across every system. Children read it in schools. Elders spoke of it in temples. Soldiers studied it in training camps. And one line became a saying across the stars. Everyone shook in terror except for humans. Not because humans were fearless, but because they knew how to face fear and still move forward.